Hey, it's Tom Gallagher and it's video number 13. Today I'd like to talk about car guys, and car gals for that matter, but when I say car guy, I mean man and woman. It doesn't matter. What is a car guy? To me, a car guy is somebody that loves cars, loves, trucks, doesn't really matter. You go to a car show and you'll meet car guys. And I had a really an interesting experience several years ago. My wife and I took a trip out to California. I had made arrangements to buy a vehicle, sight unseen, my wife and I flew out to California, and we were going to drive it back to St. Louis on Route 66. We had done this trip a couple of years prior to that, maybe a year or two prior to that, and I didn't tell her that time either, and so I was going to test the water again. And anyway, long story short, get the car, pay for the car, drive the car out of this time I bought it from a dealer, and it's 67 degrees outside in San Diego. I'm driving downhill on the highway and it overheats. Turned around, went through that experience the year before and wasn't going to do it again, plus my wife threatened to kill me. So anyway, long story short, drive back, take the car back, had to work out a deal on consignment. I ended up getting out of the thing, unwinding the deal, and didn't get hurt on it. But went up to Los Angeles, went to Cars and Coffee, never had been before, and I'd seen it on YouTube plenty of times and couldn't wait to go. So I'm there and I'm looking for a car. I want to buy a car to drive back to St. Louis because I didn't buy a round trip ticket. I just bought a one-way for my wife and I. Anyway, long story short, I come across this guy that's got a 1996 Buick Roadmaster with 42,000 miles on it, black with the genuine imitation wood on it. And I'm looking at the car. It's in immaculate condition. And, I'm kind of hesitant. Never was a big, Roadmaster guy, but it's a pretty cool car and it would be fun to drive back home. So I'm looking at it, and the guy that has it for sale, we're talking, and he said, I'll tell you what, don't take my word for it. And he points to at the other end of the Cars and Coffee, and he points down there, and he said, there's a guy down there that has a red Ferrari. He said, it's I don't remember what year it was. I think it was late 60s, early 70s Ferrari. And he said it's like a $500,000 car, unbelievable car. He said, go down and talk to that guy. Tell him you're looking at my Roadmaster. Tell him who you're talking to. Give him my name. So I go down, and it turns out this guy is a dentist, and he has a Roadmaster that he bought from the same person that's selling the Roadmaster that I'm looking at. And this guy's a dentist. He owns a couple of cars, one of which is a Buick Roadmaster wagon, genuine imitation wood. So he's got his Ferrari there, and he's like, talking about his Ferrari, we're talking about that, and he said, you'll never believe me when I tell you I would rather drive my Buick than drive this Ferrari. Then he proceeds to tell me about he lives in Los Angeles, and he said, we just last week loaded everybody in the office up in the Roadmaster. He said, we drove down to San Diego for lunch. He said, we're in bumper-to-bumper traffic, air conditioner, and driving down the highway, and he said, 27 miles to a gallon, and we're just talking, and he's like, you need to turn around and go back and buy that wagon and drive it home to St. Louis. You'll have the time of your life. And that's exactly what I did. I went back, I bought the Buick, and my wife and I drove through the desert 80 miles an hour with the air conditioner on. The year before, I drove a 65 Ford Falcon wagon, and it was quite different experience. What does this have to do with car guys? You can go to a car show and you can see a guy with a Buick Roadmaster parked next to a Ferrari, parked next to a Rat Rod, parked next to a four-door Chrysler that the guy got. It was his grandmother's car. There's 4 different vehicles, 4 different people. One guy's a millionaire. One guy makes $20,000 a year and is a mechanic. Another guy is a bug exterminator. It doesn't matter. all four of them will stand and talk to one another and get along great and have conversations all day long about their cars, what drew them to that car, why they love their cars, what got them into cars. Earlier in the week I was on Facebook and someone asked, what got you into cars? What got me into cars was I would ride with my dad. My dad didn't drive with the radio on. He was quiet the whole time. The only time I would really engage him where he would engage me is we would talk about cars. I'd see a car go by and I'd say, 64 Galaxy wagon. And he'd say, no, that's a 67. The 67 has the narrow, skinny tail light. 64 had, and then he would describe the tail light. And that's how I learned about cars, and that's what got me into cars. And now my favorite era of cars is the 60s. And that's when I grew up. So what got you into cars? Are you a car guy? Are you a car gal? Next time you get a chance, go to a car show and look at the people that are talking to one another. You'll see a guy dressed really nicely and some guy in flip-flops, shorts, and a t-shirt that says something inappropriate on it, and they're having the time of their lives. Check out a car show. If you've got kids, take them with you. It'll be the best day. It'll be the most fun, and it's inexpensive, enjoyable, and then you'll get the bug yourself. Go out and buy a car. You'll be glad you did. Thanks again, and I'll see you tomorrow.